thank you for joining us for an unmuted on a weekend. A little bit different timing for us, but we have such a special guest today, Volodymyr Omelyan. He is the former Minister of Infrastructure in Ukraine, and he is really going to bring us some great insights on what is going on in Ukraine. He has left his family and joined the ground fight against the Russians. And Volodymyr, I'm just so pleased to have you join us today. Thank you. Talk to us a little bit about the process, leaving your family and joining in with the fight that's taking place there now, the emotions, the Ukrainian spirit that is encouraging all of us as we watch you in this fight.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Let me start with the words of great appreciation and thanksgiving to U.S. administration and Congress in particular for the tremendous support you give to Ukraine these days and in the past, and I believe in the future as well. Without it, we would hardly fight Russian dominancy in Europe and the way they would like to establish their own rule of power based not on democratic values, but on tyranny and autocracy. Unfortunately, my appearance is much different those days. Normally, I wear a suit with a tie and talk about politics and some diplomacy or infrastructure issues, but not anymore. I should carry a gun and I should shoot at the enemy with the machine gun because they came to my land to take away our independence, to make another Soviet Union, and to treat everybody like slaves of Putin or Lukashenko type. We definitely do not want to have another story of Ukraine's occupation under Russia, because we had a lot of it, more than enough in the past. And that's why I'm very happy that all Ukrainians joined our efforts to fight back Russian aggression. And I'm really encouraged by the spirit of Ukrainians, which are fighting Russian tanks and Russian aircrafts with all means possible. Definitely, it's much easier for us to fight them with javelins and stingers, which were given by your government or with the support of your government just recently. And definitely, Russians are afraid of this thing, because in dream of Mr. Putin was to occupy Ukraine within 24 hours and to declare that it comes back to Russian dominancy. But it's already the third or fourth day. It's difficult to calculate because, during wartime, every hour takes like a year or two. But we fight back, we stand strong, and Putin is not that much happy as he was supposed to be. Even more interesting fact that Russian troops, which were supposed to move very fast to the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv, to capture it, are slowing down. And sometimes it looks like their commanders give them command not to go fast, just to imitate the attack, but not to do so. I believe that Russia, after those crucial sanctions you started to implement, and today's news about SWIFT closure for Russia, it was a great, I would say it's a kind of nuclear bomb in finance, definitely should freeze the euphoria of Russian Tsar Putin and his closest neighbors. But still, threat is very high, because we do understand that we are fighting maybe second or third biggest world's army. And if we win this battle, then we can easily teach you how to take over China.
Well, we are all inspired watching how Ukraine is responding and seeing Zelensky, your president, stand up as a true freedom fighter. I was talking to our Tennessee National Guard this morning, and people are just so inspired with the way you are standing up. And of course, many of our guardsmen from Tennessee have been to Ukraine and have been at the forward operating base there in the north. So we know how much you all love your country, and we're seeing that spirit come through right now. And so pleased to know that those stingers and javelins that we sent you, President Trump sent you bombs and bullets, and we know you're those to good use to protect yourself right now. Let me ask you this. Talk to our audience a little bit about the kind of help and support the Ukrainian people need from the American people right now.
Definitely we are very happy and grateful for weapons you give us, because it may be the most crucial thing. Because one story, if you talk about politics, which could take years, and the reality you face that somebody can occupy you within hours or days.
Yes.
But we should also think about another side of this occupation process or trial of occupation. It has a very bad economical impact. And I would say that maybe it's also in the interest of Russia to have weak Ukraine by their borders and to keep on blackmailing and taking all resources from Ukraine without even full occupation. How we can resist? Ukrainians will fight till the last bullet and till the last Ukrainian on Ukrainian soil. And there is no doubt about that. I was inspired by the fact that so many volunteers joined armed forces in recent days. But the issue is what to do next. If Russia occupies Ukraine, they will go further. There is no doubt about that. They already declared that NATO should come back to the borders of 1997. It means no Poland, no Hungary, no Slovak Republic, no Czech, no Baltic states, and even more. Then the issue, maybe they will come to the issue of Alaska. There are a lot of politicians from Russia saying that it was not a good deal with the United States to buy Alaska. We should take it back. So whatever happens, Putin is crazy and he is out of his mind. His main idea is to rebuild not even Soviet Union, but Imperial Russia, so-called Russian Empire, and to be number one country in the world. But what is more important, that right now we face the great battle between democracy and tyranny. On one side, you have Russia, you have Iran, you have Venezuela, you have Northern Korea, and maybe China. And on the other hand, it's Western countries, Western states joined and led by United States in this particular fight to preserve Ukrainian freedom. And I was really inspired by Republicans and Democrats saying one thing about Ukraine, that it should be independent. It's a great European country. And if so, I think the biggest political move from United States would be to invite Ukraine to NATO and try to understand our European allies that the only way to settle the crisis, to end the crisis, is for Ukraine to become member of European Union. I would say that it would be the best answer to Mr. Putin ideas, madness, and things that he keeps in his mind, that, look, guy, that's it. Ukraine belongs to the West. There is no discussion about that. And yes, in this case, he will definitely step back.
Yes, and I think that's a great message to send. You belong to the West. You're a great European country. And the more the American people show that support in recognizing that, the better it is for you. Another question I have for you, there's a lot of talk about sanctions. So touch on what, I know you all wanted sanctions earlier, and President Biden chose not to do that. But talk about how you feel it would have helped if you had had those sanctions on Nord Stream, on the economic center, the threat of moving them out of SWIFT, which I've been advocating now since last week. So touch on that for just a minute, Volodymyr, and then I know we'll need to let you go. You've got a country to defend.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely sanctions work, but we always should remember that the whole story of Soviet Union, except maybe a short period of World War II, is under sanction. And I would say that even Russian Empire was also sanctioned many times, but it didn't stop them from expansion. It didn't stop them from occupation as nations. So they do just fine. And the reason is very simple. It's only about one person or very limited quantity of persons in Russia to care about. All others can live in misery and get used to that. They never protest, because you cannot protest in concentration camp. If you protest there, you are killed or punished to that extent that you simply die. And this is the style of Russia those days. That's why many people which would like to protest in Russia, they keep silent, they are afraid. I believe, and I'm very grateful for your endeavors concerning SWIFT and all other things. Yes, it will work. But for Putin, he is happy in his Sochi Galenjik castle, newly built. Many of his elite, even without access to European Union or United States, and even if their kids are asked or moved to back to their homeland, they would still live very good life, luxurious life, like Kim Chen-il in North Korea. He is also fine there. People are dying, ordinary people are suffering, but for elite, for ruling elite, everything is fine. So it's one danger. And another thing I would say that you should always remember, whatever happens, that Putin will never stop. And it's not the issue of Putin, it's about Kremlin. Just recall conversation between Yeltsin and Clinton about the future of Europe or any other US presidents. Kremlin is pushing to occupy everything they can touch, and they only step back if they get huge resistance. And if I may, Your Excellency, just add my small personal story. On Thursday morning at 5 a.m., we woke up because of missile blasts near our house. My kids, my wife, myself, we got to pack together. We just moved kids to a safe place in our house, but they are still near Kyiv. And I'm visiting them on like once per 24 hours. And all other time I dedicated to fight Russians. I never got used to shoot with javelin or with machine gun, but thanks to Russians, I become professional in that. But I do believe it should be greater story for Ukraine, for United States, than to think about one maniac, how not to ruin the world.
Well, and thank you for that perspective. Well, know that we're praying for you. I know that our audience would like to follow you. You're on social media at _Omelyan, Omelyan.
That's correct.
So, Volodymyr, thank you so much. And thank you. Just know that we are praying for your family, for the country, and that we pray in gratitude for the spirit that the Ukrainian people have shown, the fight they've shown for freedom. So we appreciate that example that you are setting for the world. We're all cheering for you. And to our audience, you will find me on social media at Marsha Blackburn, and our website is blackburn.senate.gov. Volodymyr Omelyan, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time today.